Very good morning to you everyone, Charles here. Frgnt daily chart analysis, 10 past 6 Milano, 10 past 5 UK, pre-London Open, pre-chart analysis. So we'll start off with Gbpusd. This morning, unfortunately, we've already seen that rejection from that weekly 50 EMA of what we were anticipating, even from Monday, to be quite honest. Let's take a look at the pre-chart analysis going back a few days. Where are we? Gbpusd a few days ago. We can even go back a couple of days here for good example. Expecting that rejection from that weekly 50 EMA on GU. Unfortunately, price came down before tapping into that area a couple of days ago. Didn't give us that opportunity to short. However, we're there now, but it's happened. So, where are we in terms of higher time frame analysis? Well, weekly 50 EMA, we expect this current weekly candle to reject it and close below that weekly 50 EMA. That's almost evident at this time. What else can we work with? Well, we've got the previous weekly lows, I should say, in and around that area where price could look to target the potential bounce off that area to still align with the theory that the current weekly candle close could indeed close below that weekly 50 EMA. All the way up at the highs, it's certainly looking like a short for next week. However, in the immediacy, what can we see on that daily time frame? Well, as a result of that bullish day yesterday for the pound, we have created a previous daily high where we could look to take that short again from in and around those areas once we superimpose that previous daily high on those lower time frames, see where that aligns. And as you can see in that bottom left hand corner, to bring your attention, we do have on that 4-hour time frame a 4-hour order block just sat there up at that highs. Our price is currently, fortunately, price closed below that 4-hour 50 EMA. So looking for a long position from this area, no, I would not take that. What I am anticipating on a 4-hour time frame is a bullish candle to push up into that area. We'll look for our lower time breaks of structure and confirmation for the short before potentially that 4-hour candle then flipping bearish in towards those previous daily lows, leaving us with a wick to the high. Now, I know that looks incredibly wishful in terms of thinking, but we have to plan and then trade the plan once it gets there. In terms of long positions, as I said, I am not going to be longing into that 4-hour 50 EMA, despite my theory of believing that price could trend up into that area. We'll take a look across the other pairs to see if better setups would align. Nevertheless, in terms of structure on that 4-hour time frame, I could definitely understand why a buy position would be evidently likely after higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, pullback for a higher low continuation up into that weekly 50 EMA before the turnaround short. However, as I said, price has already rejected that weekly 50 EMA. We do forecast it to potentially come back in and around those previous daily highs, but for the moment, I must say, it's not a long position that I'm looking to take. If I am going to look to go long, I'd much prefer the reaction coming from the lows in terms of previous weekly lows to get that final push for the week if price is going to come all the way down there. Nevertheless, I'm not going to say it's completely off the table just for now. I'd like to see if there's any other potential setups across the pairs that I trade, GU, EU, AU and EG, to see where we fare with that. Looking at that 1 hour time frame as well, of course I can understand the buy position coming from that area. 4 hour order block, we're fine with the 1 hour order block as well, previous daily lows. The reason as well why I'd be quite against that position, not only as I say longing up into that weekly 50 EMA, but the fact there are just a couple of areas in which price could look to come down to. So if you were to get a turnaround in price here, it could literally just pump down, bring us right back down to those previous daily lows, look for another rejection from those previous daily lows, and again it could look to retest these wicks here before then looking to come up again. So as I said, it's just there's a little too many areas to look to want to cover in terms of taking that long position. However, again, as I said, it's not completely off the table. If structure aligns, if the pound as it comes down is starting to give bullish signs across other pairs, if EU is also looking bullish, if it reaches a structure point on that pair, then potentially it could line up well across in terms of confidence, but for now it's not something that I'm interested in. Coming over to that 15-minute time frame again, you can see the high confidence in terms of looking for that short position. Let's see how far we really are from it. Blimey, what a shame, 70 pips from the top. Was very tempted to set a sell limit up at these highs, to be quite honest, yesterday, as a result of that bullish pressure leaving us breaking those highs as it approached quite late on in the evening, past my trading session, to be quite honest, and that's why I didn't take it. Another confluence for looking for a short position or looking for price to come up into that area is there still is a previous Asia to be filled. As I said, that lines nicely with that previous daily high of yesterday created here. Prices then pushed off, giving us some lower time frame breaks of structure. So potentially what we could be seeing here is after higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, a potential higher low, but that then broke structure to the left, creating a new low. There is now that evident chance of after a low, lower high before creating another lower low. So we'll see how price works out for us today. Again, in terms of that long position from here, hope you can see on this time frame that there are just a little too many areas in which that we would have to, well, we wouldn't be able to cover that many areas with a sufficient stop loss GU, so 15 pips maximum, to be quite honest. So in terms of this area here, that 1 hour order block, you're not able to cover the lows of Asia that are still yet to be filled, and I would not be using an order block in the middle of Asia, so that is null and void. And the previous daily low, of course, if we find a rejection there, potential break of structure on the 15-minute. Let's see how it aligns, but again, 15 pips, what can we cover? Well, we can certainly cover the daily lows and previous Asias that are yet to be filled, but this area here, you can already foresee that price will look to attack it in terms of liquidity grabs. Nevertheless, we'll see how that plays out throughout the day. But what you can see, I've already got planned my lower time frame criteria that I'm looking for before looking for that long position from the lows of that previous weekly low. So I'm quite firm on shorts from these highs and long positions from these lows, and anything else in the middle I'm happy to sit that out. It's Friday, there's no need to risk any profits that are already banked, as well as taking positions from here. We've got Asia's to be filled, so yeah, this area is not really a high probable area in terms of long positions, of which I am looking for, despite the overwhelmingly good looking trend, I should say, on that 4 hour time frame. But sometimes it's all about knowing when to sit a position out, and if it goes, it's just one of those. So I hope that makes sense. First pair marked up on what I'd like to call Fun Coupon Friday. That is withdrawal day for myself. So any profits made throughout the week, I'm looking to retain, hold on to them, reduce my risk potentially throughout the day, and see what we can bank in terms of little fun coupons for that Friday withdrawal. Thank you very much for listening. Appreciate your support over the weeks and months. All the very best in your trading. Good luck, Charles.